The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of The Post Office. I am Mayor Lisa Post, and today I'm really excited to be joined by one of my fellow councillors, Councillor Debbie Sherwood. Debbie, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, Mayor Post. I'm quite happy to be here with you this evening.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to keep this pretty casual. Okay. This is kind of about letting our viewers get to know each of the councillors and kind of what led them into the municipal world and what they did before politics and, you know, what things are important and what things you want to get done over the term. So let's start with that. So tell me a little bit about your history in Orangeville and all of that good stuff.
Well, I've actually been a very long time resident in Orangeville, lived here 40 some odd years, 43 years now. I'm originally raised from Erin, so not too far away. So when I came to Orangeville, I thought I was moving to the big city, and at the time there was like 8,000 people.
That's right.
So I've seen a significant amount of growth here. Very honored to have raised 3 children here who are all grown adults now, and I have 5 grandchildren. And then I was very fortunate to get employment here. And actually, I was in the public sector, and I worked for the municipality of Orangeville as tax collector for over 33 years, retired as tax collector and deputy treasurer. So Was
Orangeville where you started your career in municipal finance?
Orangeville was, yes.
That was your first spot, eh?
Yes, my first spot. And I continue to still, I'm a mentor, not a mentor, a faculty member of Seneca College, where I do the, like it's called continued education, so it's online courses for municipal tax administration program for municipal employees.
Okay.
And it really helps them with, the governance and the running and the operationals and more customer service related stuff, and not so much too much governance because we have the Municipal Act to fall under. But I've been doing that since 1999, and that opportunity bestowed me the title of a certified municipal tax professional.
That's awesome.
So I've been doing that for a while, and I really enjoy that.
So tell me about your time as a tax collector in Orangeville. I mean, so you started, how long ago would that have been? What year would you have started with Orangeville?
I started in 1981.
So what was the population of Orangeville back then?
8,800.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I served with a significant number of councillors and treasurers and everyone else. And of course, there was the times where we were actually, manually doing everything. So I saw a significant, considerable amount of change. The biggest amount of change, of course, is growth.
Absolutely.
Came here, there was, very minimal development. And I've seen growth, and to me, it's been good growth. Because now I feel that we have a community where you can get everything you need. We have the finest of restaurants, we have lots of retail stores, and we have lots of activities as far as arenas and schools and everything. So I've seen it go from that, what I considered a small community, to now a vibrant community.
How do you think that municipal role has changed in your time over the, since the early 1980s, being a public employee? I know, that's a tough gig, and
it is.
It's a lot of work to make sure that the residents are well taken care of, and of course, in the role of tax collector, you're probably not everybody's favorite person.
No, and I mean, there was a time where everybody came into town hall to pay their taxes.
Right.
They came with cash in hand, and you kind of got to know everybody, like you knew the same residents. But of course now, as we've got larger, we have a commuter town, we have a lot of people that do pay online
just
and all that.
Technology,
so just to see tech develop and different ways of billing and just modernization. When I think back years and years ago, I think, oh my God, it just seems so antiquated, and we've really come up a long way. So the unfortunate part is when people pay online or stuff, you don't get that one-on-one connection,
right.
but we still do through phone calls. And yes, I wasn't the most liked person, and which kind of led me to, once my retirement was over, I knew that I had heard all the the strains from people and the pressures and how difficult it was to pay their taxes. And I kept thinking, well, I had no control over what the taxes were then. I was just like, don't shoot the messenger. I just provided the document and said, pay. So I thought I wanted to make a bit of a difference. I was really engaged with the community and really felt the love and passion of it, and I knew how hard it was for some people, so I thought maybe I want to be part of the decision making in that and help with that.
I love that. Before we get into your municipal politics career though, did you work for any other municipalities other than Orangeville through the time of your career, or you stayed with Orangeville?
I did not.
You stayed with Orangeville that whole time. That's amazing.
Before that, I worked in a trucking company. I was their tracer when freight went missing, and then one day I saw an ad in the paper for a job to work in the municipal office for $13,000 a year, and I went, oh my God, that's so much money in my own community. And I got an interview and was very fortunate there and loved it right to the day I retired.
That's so wonderful.
Yes.
Such a connection to the community. And I know outside of your role as a municipal tax collector, you spent a lot of time, especially with your kids growing up and since then, volunteering in the community. So can you tell me about some of the organizations that you've worked with over the years and even today? I know you're still active.
Right. So today I'm volunteering with the Orangeville Food Bank. I volunteer with the Orangeville Blues and Jazz. I feel very passionate to this community, but as my children were growing up, I was involved in student councils and dances and hockey. We have been involved in every sport you could ever imagine. Of course, this is a big
with three kids, you would be
lacrosse town, so it was between gymnastics and dance and ice skating. So Northman and Orangeville Flyers, my kids, we traveled all over to arenas all over Ontario. So there was a significant amount of community events that I participated with, whether it be just a mom in the stand or selling at a bake sale at the school. So I've been around for a long time, seen a lot, and now I'm doing it with my grandkids.
That's awesome. Now, you kind of already alluded to the fact that your role as municipal tax collector really kind of prompted you to want to run for council the first time, and obviously you've got a big significant connection to the community. So tell me a little bit about the decision to run for council, because that's a big change from working in the public sector to being an elected official. So tell me about the decision-making process and how that all worked.
So while I was off, I kept thinking, what can I still do for my community, because I felt once I was retired, I felt a little disconnected, other than the few things that I could volunteer with, but I still had this drive and passion in me to not really be a politician, but a community advocate. And again, I go back to the fact that I listened, especially door knocking, to people talking about how high taxes, but 30 some odd years listening to it, and some people really, really struggling with that. And I thought, you know what, now I'm going to try and do the other role. It was a huge difference going from being an employee to a policy and decision and procedure maker. And I also had to learn to go outside of my comfort zone. I was a finance person. I was in taxation. I never knew that I was going to get involved in speeding and sewer backups and water main breaks and and different things that we have now exposed ourselves in this new umbrella. And I can't say that I have regretted that decision at all.
That's great. I got to meet you for the very first time, I think, when we ran together in 2014.
Right.
And it was both of our kind of first toe that we dipped into municipal politics. And through that time, neither of us were successful at getting elected. But I know both of us have talked about how much we learned along that process. So can you talk about a little bit about that first campaign time and what that experience was like for you?
Well, again, it made me open up my eyes as to what issues the people really have. But one thing I did learn about in that campaign and every campaign since is that the people that live here love to live here.
Absolutely.
And they have things that are very passionate to them, whether it be recreation, whether it be policing, whether it be just simple things like how speed and safety issues. So I felt that I developed more of an interest like that, and thinking, well, I want to try and help be a voice for these people. So I didn't let my loss in 2014 deter me, because I still had that desire to serve. And like I said, I didn't want to go out and be a politician. I wanted to be a community advocate.
And that's exactly what you've been. You've been an amazing community advocate, and I've been so lucky to work with you. And I'm so glad that neither of us let that 2014 law stop us. Because look now, I mean, I consider both yourself and myself as role models for young women.
Absolutely.
So have you found at all since you've been in politics that your role has changed or evolved at all, or the community response to your role maybe, has that changed at all?
I think that the people respect the decisions we have to make. I too, as you've just mentioned, I'm very grateful that I work with you. I think we were a phenomenal women team last time, and now we have another phenomenal addition to the team. I like our whole team. I don't feel that I get treated any differently by my male counterparts, and I think the community looks at me as maybe I'm the mom figure on the council, like the one fighting for a playground in a new subdivision or something. But I feel that the community respects me, and I usually get some very good positive feedback saying you guys are doing great things, and I don't take this as an independent. I don't take this as all the accomplishment as being me independently. It has been our whole team.
Absolutely.
And we've had a phenomenal team.
We've been very fortunate, both last term and this term, to really work amongst great colleagues and be able to move some really important things forward.
Right.
Now tell me about your family. How did your family feel the first time you said you were going to run for council? Because it is big on our families, and I know some people may not realize that, but it is a big thing for our families, especially when they hear things in the media that maybe aren't so positive. And how did your family react when you said you were going to run the first time?
Well, I think at first they were a little shocked and kind of laughed and went, "What? Really?" Because again, they don't look at me as being a politician, and then you see the politicians on the TV, and they're a little different than us, right? So at first they kind of laughed and thought it was, but they were very, very supportive once I got going. My grandkids laugh because they keep thinking I'm mayor and can get them a new baseball diamond somewhere else, and so I used to think that was really funny, but. I know my grandson, even one time we were at a store one time, and he goes, "My Nana's a counselor, so they seemed really proud. They've started to learn to be more mindful at how much the community meant to me, and I find now that is instilled on them as well to give back to their community.
Love that. And that's exactly what we can do in these roles, is really, it's not about getting elected into a seat. It's about community leadership. You're exactly right. We're not politicians. I mean, some people call us politicians, but we're doing it because we want to be community leaders and community advocates, and we can really be mentors for people. So I think that's great that you're instilling that on your grandkids, because they'll take the next round, right?
Yeah.
It's up to them.
Like, I'm sure your granddaughter must be proud that her Nana is, the mayor.
She says that all the time. My Nan's the mayor.
Right? And what a great influence for our young women, for our young girls to see that. I have a granddaughter as well. I have a daughter, and I want to let them know that, it doesn't have to be male-dominated position. Women can get in there, and we can do just as many great things.
That's right. And we do work really well together as a team.
Yes, for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about last term. So last term you sat on the Heritage Committee, and you also sat on the Homelessness Committee. And as a group, and the BIA, absolutely. Yep. And as a group, we also navigated the world of COVID-19 and through the transition of OPS to OPP, we had a lot of big things on our plate. So talk a little bit about your term for the last 4 years and some of your big accomplishments. So
I felt that we were very successful on making that really hard decision about going from OPS to OPP. We all researched really well, and we just didn't go in there with our mindset that was going to happen. So that was a decision we made. One of the decisions why I chose to rerun is to see that come to light, to see those savings that we're told are going to happen. The other big thing that we made, and again, I don't take credit for anything independently, we made the decision about selling the rail, putting that money in, significant amount of money and into the pots that we obviously want to have open dialogue with our citizens, what they want to do with that. And just making some great moves as far as adding to our trails. And I just think that overall, we've made some great moves, and they've been some hard decisions, but they've been some great decisions, and we've got some good things coming down the pipe.
Absolutely, we really have. So in the first 4 years, what would you consider to be the hardest thing that you had to get through as a councillor and as a community leader?
Again, going through the policing was hard, because I know myself, I had to think not how Debbie wants to vote? How does the people, like Debbie represents the people? And there was divisiveness. There was people that didn't want it and did. And so as a councillor, it's hard to make those votes when you know you can't vote both ways.
That's right.
So you have to take your overall picture. So I would say that the OPP was the hardest one, but in no way do I regret the decision that I made, and I get nothing but good feedback about that.
Yeah, and same with me. I would agree with you. I think that my hardest decision along the way, there was a couple, but the OPS to OPP would be probably the biggest decision and probably the hardest one. And I know all of us did all the right things in reading all the literature. I say I've read thousands and thousands of things about
Everything.
policing.
We read everything, and that's the thing with our council is we all came very prepared for this.
And we did the ride-alongs.
We did ride-alongs. And the other big thing, too, that's really hard with some people is voting on development, because not everybody wants new development. And, of course, because we're running out of land, our development usually means going up. And not everybody likes that. So sometimes those decisions are hard to make, you know, because I've approved developments that I know people don't like.
Yep.
But at the same time, we have to provide housing. And that's very important.
Yeah, and it's something we're going to be dealing with even more through this term, I think, than we did last term, because you're right, we are kind of at the end of our land, and we're at those last kind of final decisions on how we finish building Orangeville, really, within our boundaries that we've got now anyways, right?
That's right.
So we're going to have some contentious developments coming along, but I'm so pleased to work with a great group that I know we're all going to do our research, we're all going to make the best decisions for the community, and we're going to keep growing. And
we've seen, you know, we're seeing some great developments coming along Broadway, which will help, you know, revitalize and keep our downtown vibrant. I'm very passionate about our downtown. Of course, it kind of hibernates and links in with my committee, Heritage Orangeville Committee, because Orangeville, downtown Orangeville is a designated heritage district, so we want to do everything we can to protect those historical buildings.
Well, and that links in nice too to your time that you spent as our representative, our council representative on the BIA. To the viewers who are watching who may not know, can you explain a little bit about who the BIA is and what they do and why they exist?
Well, the BIA is very, very, very important for promoting the businesses downtown, and it's the mom and pop shops. It's not these big box shops. And they're very important. I mean, if you go down our downtown, I mean, we've got our beautiful theater, we've got restaurants, we've got service people, you know, we've got a great mix of people. I mean, everything from lawyers to just going to get some great chocolate at the chocolate shop or visiting some of our cafes. So I think a downtown and a vibrant and beautiful downtown as ours is. I know a lot of people don't like the medians. I personally, when they're all in bloom and everything, I think they're beautiful.
They're beautiful.
We have our farmers market down there. It brings people, it gathers people, and it's a wonderful place for our events like the Orangeville Blues and Jazz. And to me, nothing's more important than promoting our local people. And these people they're living in our community, they're contributing to our community. And I think that we owe everything we can to promote them, and the BIA does that. We do a lot of little events throughout the year to bring the people down and get them away from the big box stores and show them that Orangeville has a beautiful downtown that we can be really proud of.
I love our downtown as well, and I really loved when you were on the BIA, the amount of time that you spent at our council meetings updating council on what the BIA was doing, what events were coming, and just helped the community really better understand, I think, what the role of the BIA is in the community. So I thank you very much for that.
Thank you. I'm happy to pass that on to Deputy Mayor, but I still always have that passion with them, and like I say, with my link with Heritage, because downtown is significantly heritage buildings, they'll always have my support for sure.
That links really nicely into your Heritage Committee. So you've got some stuff with you today. So what do you got there? What is our Heritage Committee up to over the last 4 years and moving into these next 4? Well,
of course, the biggest thing with our Heritage is, believe it or not, we have around 500 properties that are on our Heritage Register.
Wow.
So we have a significant amount of properties in town. So not only are we trying to promote our heritage, but we're also trying to preserve our heritage. One of the things that my committee, it may be small, but we're a very good working group. We produce a calendar every year to promote and display some of our promote the heritage awareness more than anything. This year was side by side, and we honored women that were significantly made some differences in our community. We also have the Footsteps from the Past. This is a booklet that you can either pick up at Town Hall or any of our facilities out at the Orangeville Tourism, or you can download the Driftscape app and do a walk along. There's 3 walking tours, and it gives a walking tour and some detailed information on different types of models of buildings and some historical significance. And you'll really be surprised as you take these walking tours and read some information. There's some really good historical information there. So one of the things our committee does is we constantly keep in mind that we want to make sure that we preserve this and educate our generations in the future to know how much we need to honor and respect our past.
And the Heritage Committee, they're also responsible for making some decisions when it comes to changes to heritage properties, right?
Correct.
And how does that work?
Well, we actually fall under the Ontario Heritage Act, and it's one of the mandated committees that a municipality has to have. And the biggest thing is to make sure that buildings of significance don't get just destroyed for high development, big developments. So people in the community may have seen some historical buildings go down. There could be lots of reasons. There could be structural reasons that is just beyond being saved. But if it's a property of real significance, it's going to be protected if it's designated.
Right.
So one of the roles of the Heritage Committee would to be recommend to council to designate specific buildings. And I mentioned earlier in the show that downtown Orangeville is a designated spot. So those buildings will not get demolished to put high rises in.
Right.
So that's one of the things as an advisory to council. We follow what's under the Ontario Heritage Act, and we make sure that we're doing everything we can to protect it. And if it's a significance, we can actually put a stop on that. But it's more important for people, if you have a heritage building, to get awareness plaques. They're very, very cheap, and it's always interesting to provide a new homeowner sometime of a historical building some of the history. If you go on data.orangeville, every historical building property that I mentioned to you, the 500, is in there with some details about each of those buildings. You can see photos from the past and some great information about the past of simple, like you look at one building and they said they bought it and built it for $500 in 1873. $500 mortgage then, right?
Yeah, can you imagine?
500.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no decimals.
Not 500,000, 500.
Yeah. No, that's amazing, and that work's so important. And as regulations change in the province as well, it's going to be even more and more crucial that we continue to preserve our heritage and keep that community feel that we've got. I love the feeling of our downtown core and all of our kind of first sub-streets that Orangeville had, because it really does feel like that small town in there.
For sure, for sure.
Now, one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about, and I know during the last term of council and this one as well, you're involved in the homelessness task force. The homelessness task force during the last iteration really did a great job advocating for an Out of the Cold program and for the men's homelessness shelter, both of which have opened and come to fruition. So congratulations on that. But talk a little bit about the work that you did there, because I know it's been a big passion of yours. It has been a very big passion, and to see it finally come through and have my council mates approve that we budget some money. It's not a significant amount, but it's a good start. Nothing made me more happier to hear those words that we're actually opened. It's a Band-Aid solution. It isn't the solution. One of the things I found in campaigning, and I'm sure you heard the same, not only high taxes but affordable housing. Yeah. So it's a step in the right direction, and we have to work towards whatever we can to get these people homed, housed, and care for the needs that they need to have. So the fact that when myself and Councillor Andrews were on the men's homelessness, when we first developed that committee, we realized that it was far more than just men's homelessness, and that it was women, it was children. Like we thought that women and children and youth were covered, but there's still some homelessness there that exists, gaps, right? Sure. So there was some big gaps. So we learned a lot on that, and that really opened our eyes. And so now, going forward, once the new fire hall's built, we're hoping that the old fire hall will be converted into a crisis care center where people that maybe have some kind of
issues, whether it be mental health or addiction issues, can go and get the help that they need and feel safe doing it, and we can get them on the right path. And then we've got some affordable housing coming up over by the Orangeville Mall that SHIP's going to be running. So I'm looking forward to that. FTP just announced that they're going to do an expansion there, which is phenomenal. So again, the affordable housing, to get the people out of the cold is one thing, to give a shelter is another thing, but we have to find a long-term solution into affordable housing for them.
Absolutely. And as we go just into the last couple of minutes of the show, what do you think are your biggest priorities through this term? What are the things that would make this a successful term for you?
Well, to me, I came first with my platform to really try and control tax increases. We were very successful our last term in having very low tax increases, like less than 1%. This year was a little bit more of a struggle, but I think we still did pretty good compared to other municipalities. That still will be in my forefront, to try and do whatever we can to control tax increases without cutting services. And if we can enhance on services, even better. I also think it's a priority for the people to tell us what they want to do with their money from the sale of the railway. We do have to give back them excess of $9 million, but we have another 20 some odd sitting in there in the pot, and it's their money, so it's up to them to tell us what we can do. So I look forward to that. I look forward to the new fire hall opening, and the expansion of our rail trails, which is really exciting. So we're going to be going into the billing model for OPP. So I want to start seeing where those costs are, and hopefully we can start doing some good infrastructure projects that have maybe been pushed on in the back. Keeping taxes low is going to be really hard considering the inflation, interest rates, the costs of everything that have gone up. But I think we work really well, and we have phenomenal staff that come to us and know that we're not a council that just approves everything. You got to really need it, not just want it, before we'll approve it.
Absolutely, and that's been kind of the theme of what we've been doing over the last 4 years, and I know we'll continue that we'll continue to work together. I've enjoyed our chat tonight, and I've enjoyed working with you over the last 4 years. I look forward to the next 4. I think we're going to do some really, really great things for the community, and you've got kind of a last word if you want it.
Well, first of all, Mayor Post, I want to say that working with you as a councillor the last term was phenomenal, and I congratulate you on your new role.
You.
I really look forward to working with our councillors and you and your leadership, because I think you'll do a phenomenal job. So far, I think you're doing fantastic.
Thank you.
If anybody has anything that they have any concerns with, I'm always available. You can email me at dsherwood@orangeville.ca. And I'm always open to hearing any good, bad, or different. So I'll take the good with the bad. But again, thank you very much for having me today. And this has been really great to be able to share some of my visions and thoughts as I've been on now into my second term of council.
I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you so much. And thank you all for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of The Post Office.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
Looking for the best way to get the Major League Baseball games you want to watch? Rogers Super Sports Pack has you covered. With MLB Extra Innings, you'll have a premium ticket to out-of-market